everyone, welcome back to video 3 of my little holistic healing series. This video is going to be about healing the emotional body and finding that degenerative cellular memory that's at the core of dis-ease, and also how to reprogram the mind. So this is the recipe to healing the emotional body. I hope that last week's information wasn't too confronting for too many of you. I know the idea of us being the creators of our reality, let alone actual dis-ease, is very, it's a bit confronting when it's the first time that we've even considered that, contemplated that. So I hope you managed to, not take anything too personally. If you are suffering from dis-ease, then just know we can only do the best that we can do in the moment with the knowledge that we have. And now you're gaining new knowledge. So, just being open to the idea that maybe, the information that you've had in the past is not fully correct, and maybe there is a better way. And so I hope today you can really embrace and will take on board the practices that I give you to heal on a core level. When I first discovered this process to find the degenerative cellular memory and heal, my girlfriend was trying to give me this book. And, every time she tried to give it to me, I was already reading something else. So I was like, yeah, no, I'll get it later. But one day she brought it to me. She said, Lynn, I know you just have to read this. And so I did. I started reading it. I was covered with goosebumps and I couldn't stop reading it. And I think it was like 1 or 2 in the morning that I finished, but there was a process at the back of it. And I decided also that I just had to give this process a go, because for many years I'd been struggling with chronic social anxiety, to the point that sometimes I'd have to even psych myself up before I went out of the house to take my kids to school, which is just absolutely ridiculous when I think about it. But that was just what life was like, and I didn't know why, because as far as I'm concerned, I've had an amazing life. But so I went through this process at the back of Brandon's book, and it brought up a memory of when I was around 2 years old, and I was in hospital, and I'm holding onto the bars of this cot and looking out, screaming, crying my eyes out as my mum and dad walked away and left me there. And at that time, around that time, I did have to have a hip operation. And so I knew that it was possible that it was a memory, but if not, it could have just been a metaphor for, what was going on at that time. Because my intention going into this session was, please show me what's the deepest cellular memory I need to heal to get to the core of this anxiety and then get rid of it once and for all, And so, this was the memory that came up, which absolutely blew my mind, because there's no way I've even ever thought that I would have a memory of, at just 2, of that time in my life. Let alone that being at the core of this anxiety that I was having. So that, I was addicted. From that, I was just like, oh my God, that's amazing. There was so much emotion coming out of me, because I was feeling from that little 2-year-old how traumatic that situation was. And I was able in the process to speak to my mum and dad from the 2-year-old and, feel what they were feeling, feel what I was feeling, and then, find absolute forgiveness. And with that, just total letting go. And that's the process I'm going to take you through today. But it was really, really amazing. And it just, I was just so inspired. I knew that this was the process that I wanted to facilitate for other people, because I could tell just how powerful it was. And then Fiona, the lady my friend that gave me the book, about a week later after I'd finished reading it, she came for dinner. And at one point she said, I have to go. Like, every time I go out socially, I end up with this chronic pain, like in my abdomen area. And, by the end of the night, I'm in fetal position in so much pain. And I said, you're not going anywhere. Get on that lounge in there. And I was just hanging out to try it on someone else. And because I didn't know the process at all, but at the back of Brandon's book, the lady's name is Brandon Bays, and the book's called The Journey. At the back of that book, there's a process step by step that you can go through. So I just started reading that out to her, and she was doing her bit, I was doing my bit. She was feeling the emotions come up, then a memory came up. We did the healing work that it suggests in the book, how to do it. And by the time we finished the process, the pain in her body had gone. And we were talking about it about 10 years later, and she said, you know, I've never ever had that pain back again. And she said, I might have got a little twinge, but never ever have I had to leave somewhere and, you know, end up in fetal position in pain. And we're just like, wow, that's incredible. You know, I didn't even know the process then. I was just reading it from the book. So that's how powerful this process is. So if you're thinking to yourself, oh God, I'm not going to be able to do it, you know, for so many of us, we just have that kind of mindset anyway. Everyone else will be able to do it, but it's not going to work for me. Well, I would just say, just let go of all of that, because I didn't have a clue. And seriously, I wasn't on a spiritual path at that time, or maybe I was just embarking on that. You know, I didn't have a clue. And yet, in that moment, she was healed, and it never came back. She was healed. This is what I'm talking about. This is authentic healing, absolute healing, when we get to the cause of any particular symptom. So there was another girl that came to my retreat, and she just came to do a day with me, and she'd had so much pain in her abdomen, and it was chronic. And she had had every scan under the sun, she told me. So many different doctors, but no one could tell her what was wrong. Everyone just said, there's nothing wrong with you, you know, there's nothing wrong. She said, I know there's something wrong. There's something really serious wrong, because this pain is chronic, and it's every day of my life. So we started the healing process, and she just had so much emotion that just came pouring out. And a memory came up for her. She knew who it was about. She did the healing work, and by the end of the process felt absolute forgiveness and closure. She went home, and 3 days later she emailed me saying, I just can't stop pinching myself. I'm having to pinch myself to make sure this is real, because all of the pain is gone. And you know, even I was blown away, because that was kind of when I was just starting. And I just thought, wow, this is just the most amazing stuff. And again, just really concreted my belief that I already had at that time of our bodies just being so amazing and so powerful when we take a holistic approach and we get to the cause and not just work on the symptom. So yeah, this is how it happens, and so quick, so easy, if we can come out of the mind and just allow our body to guide us through this process. And that's not easy for most people, because we're thinkers. And our mind is just the biggest storyteller. I call it a bullshit storyteller, because if you remember from last week, most of our programming and these blocked cellular memories come back to the perception of a younger you. So it's not actually the truth. So I'm going to give you the process now. So if you'd like to grab a pen and paper, and you can just write down the steps. And then when you have a moment, a quiet moment, just get into a meditative state and then take yourself through those steps. And you might like to get someone to help you, to walk you through it. If you want the full process, maybe just go and grab Brandon's book called The Journey, and her name is Brandon Bays, and she'll give you a more in-depth process. I'm just going to kind of run through the basic steps. So firstly, it's just about quietening the mind. And then if you have something physical going on in your body, so say if you've got a pain in your body somewhere, or if you are suffering from dis-ease, you can work on that. Or if you have some, you know that you need to find forgiveness with someone, you can work on that. But basically, just get into a quiet space and allow yourself to think about whatever's happening. Before you start, have a prayer or intention for your body wisdom to show you, please show me what's the deepest cellular memory that needs to be healed in order for me to heal this once and for all, to let go of this once and for all. And then so you're feeling, so say if you've got unforgiveness towards someone, you might like to think of that experience that you had with them, and then just start to notice what emotions come up. if you've got dis-ease in your body, maybe just focus on kind of what that feels like. And then again, just allowing yourself to feel the emotions, because for so many of us, we've become really good at not feeling, at suppressing our emotions. In fact, one of the girls that I work with, she got so good at suppressing her traumatic emotions that had manifested into cancer, that she went through life numb, and she's made herself numb. And then she said to me she had to be so careful when she had a shower that she didn't scold herself, because she was that numb that she couldn't even feel physically how hot the water was. So we all create strategies to not feel, and it's like a survival instinct. For some people, they take drugs, some people drink alcohol, some people emotionally eat. Some people are workaholics, because if they stop and slow down, they have to feel. So we all do this. So there's no judgment. Don't have any judgment towards yourself. It's just the way it is, because we've never been taught the importance of feeling and expressing our emotions. So you're allowing yourself to feel the emotion, and what's going to happen is you'll start to drop through different layers of emotion. So maybe, sadness will come up. You'll feel a bit sad, and you might allow yourself to feel into that sadness, and then it might become really sad and maybe possibly even grief. And so if that comes up for you, allow yourself to just cry it out, sob it out. The stronger we can feel the emotion, the easier it is to express it, and also it's the more powerful it is for your body. So we're feeling the emotions, and what you find is that once we allow ourselves to feel it, it will kind of lift and leave the body, and then another emotion will rise into that. So it's like an emotional drop through, emotion after emotion, and you just keep allowing yourself to feel. At some point you probably get a memory that comes up, or a knowing of what it's about when you hit a particular emotion, normally a very strong emotion. And so you just let yourself feel that, and you take notice of that memory, because we work with that a little bit later. And then just keep going through the emotions until you come to a space that's pretty well nothingness. But it's a beautiful, peaceful nothingness. It's the soul level, and the truth of who you are, going back to that godling. And so for many people, just feeling this alone is healing, regardless of everything else. For many people, they won't get to experience that, because the mind is way too busy, and it might take a few processes before they're able to drop into that space. But don't worry, even just releasing whatever emotion you can is going to be very healing for you. So you're allowing the emotions to come. Hopefully you're going to come to this space of nothingness. If it's numbness, just know, if that nothingness is a numbness, just know that that's just a cover. There's something deeper that you're protecting yourself from. So just keep going, keep going. But if it's beautiful and peaceful, maybe people liken it to, or name it as bliss, as strength, as freedom, as love, as joy. If you're feeling it in that place and it feels like it's everywhere, then you've tapped into that soul level, the true essence of who you are, that energy being that you are in truth. And so from this place, healing's very easy. And that's where, as I mentioned, a lot of these instant healings are taking place when people drop into this space. So it's very beneficial to get there, but it's still going to work even if you don't reach there. It's just going to be a slower process, as I mentioned last week. So from this place, then we're going to create a campfire and do this. Just visualize it in the part of the body where you had a very strong emotional, or possibly that memory came up. And then using the power of intention and visualization, remembering your mind doesn't know the difference of whether you do something in a visualization or you actually do it in reality. The chemical changes are exactly the same. So you create this little campfire and visualization. In the memory, if you have a younger you, which I would say, 95% of people, their memory will go back to a time that they're younger than what they are on that day. And often it goes right back to childhood. So you invite that side of you to the campfire, and then you invite the other people involved in this memory to the campfire. And then this part of the process is about having the opportunity to express verbally, because, you know, if we're younger, we don't even know how to express ourselves. So it's very, very powerful to be able to speak your truth from that younger you. And as in Katie's case, you know, she got to speak from the 5-year-old to her father. Why did you walk away and leave me? The dog bit me when you did that. And he was like, oh God, if I ever knew that the dog was going to bite you, I wouldn't have walked away. And they had this conversation. And, you know, when we're working in consciousness, we get to feel and really sense what that other person's thinking and feeling and saying back to us. So it's really like a true conversation. And when we empty out all the words and there's nothing left to say, forgiveness comes really, really easy. And I've worked with people that have been abused in the past and have said to me, you know, I don't even think this is going to work because there's no way I'm forgiving that bastard. And I'm like, well, just be open to what may happen in the process, because, you know, I've heard a lot of people say that. And yeah, and sure enough, at the end of it, they do find, it might not be full forgiveness, but they do find a sense of forgiveness. And we must remember that when we're forgiving, we're never saying that what the person did is okay. I like to explain it that we're basically just saying, you know, I'm not going to let you hurt me anymore, because by holding on to this unforgiveness, we're not actually hurting the other person, we're hurting ourselves, because this is creating that blocked energy, which is manifesting into the physical symptom of disease. So, yeah, so forgiveness is what it's all about, no matter how hard you might think that's going to be. If you don't look at it like, yeah, why should I forgive them? If you turn it around and say, oh my gosh, I deserve better than this. Like, I have enough self-love now to forgive you because I want to heal and I'm not going to let you harm me anymore. So, yeah, when we come to forgiveness, we often, you know, feel such a sense of relief in the body. And that with that relief, it's just, you know, your whole body just feels lighter. And remember last week I was talking about holding the emotions and that beach ball underwater? Well, sometimes when people get up from the healing table, they're just like, oh, wow, I'm so light. I feel like I'm, you know, just floating sort of thing. If you've had a very powerful release, emotional release, and really come to amazing forgiveness and closure. Other people might, you know, we're so used to suppressing that they might actually be left a bit heavy, because there's more emotions that want to come up. So if that happens, just take yourself through it again and just allow yourself to feel what else is here that needs to be released. That's all there is to this process. It's really very, very simple, but it's not always simple to be able to do it on your own, just because, you know, our minds are so busy. But it's very powerful, and it's imperative to absolute healing to be able to get into that subconscious level and find out what is the cause of this chaos at the atomic level that's manifested into molecular, cellular, and then a symptom in the physical body. You know, I've taken people through these processes. It's been really fascinating to see that, you know, I've had ladies that are in their 70s that, you know, they're feeling sad, and then that turns into grief, and the memory that comes up is they've lost a child when they're younger, and there's just so much grief around that incident that when you hear it come out, you would think that it happened yesterday. It's really so fresh once we tap into that memory. And so if you can imagine that's what you're storing in your body, it's no wonder we end up with dis-ease. So yeah, often things will go right back to, you know, a long time ago, and this process has a way of pulling up the most traumatic memories. So just be aware that, you know, if you've had some trauma in your life, it's an amazing thing to work with somebody else, get that support, because you, more than likely, these very strong emotions will come up. So I would just say, please, you know, give it a go. What have you got to lose? You know, you've been doing the way you've been doing. If it hasn't been giving you the results that you want, what have you got to lose? Back to that quote of, you know, if we always do what we've always done, we're always going to get what we've always gotten. So, yeah. So now I'm going to give you the recipe to change the programming in your mind, the negative core belief system that is like our central, the disk that we're playing on our central computer, and attracting to us via vibration people and circumstances that affirm that belief. So if you've got a detrimental negative core belief system, it's really, really important and imperative that we change that programming so that you don't continue to invite those sorts of people and circumstances into your life. The way we do this is just, again, get into a bit of a meditative state, find a really quiet space, grab a pen and paper, and just start to write down any repetitive thoughts that you have about yourself. So just have a think about your life for a moment. Have a look at relationships, friendships, intimate relationships, friendships. Especially have a look at your health. Have a look at what work's been like. Have a look at financial issues, and then just one at a time look at these things, and then just start to take notice of the feelings that you're having when you focus on a particular thing that that you're having, that you're having repetitive patterns around, and start to be interested to find out what's the belief around that. What do I hear myself saying over and over? What do I think over and over? And write it down. If you've had problems with abundance, check that out. And possibly you got told all the time that don't be greedy, like other people need it more than you, or whatever it may be. So you've created other people need it more than me, I don't deserve. If it's around sickness and health, some people, if they're a sickly baby, they might have parents that say to them over and over, God, you're always sick. And then at some level, at some moment, the child takes that on and says, I'm always sick. And that becomes the programming. And so this works for every single aspect of our life. And the monetary things are often, passed down generationally as well. So the programs that our parents are playing out, that's what can be passed down to us. And we seem to, pick that up energetically and then make it our own programming. So just have a look at every aspect of life, and you write these beliefs down, and just take time on each and every level, but especially around dis-ease, like if there's any belief around that. But in saying that, it's all the other things that we're holding strong beliefs around that could eventually manifest into disease anyway. So it's not necessarily a program that says I'm sick. It could be an area of your life that's causing a lot of stress that will then eventually manifest into dis-ease. So if you, so you just start writing down all of these beliefs. And just on that, I'm just having this thought that, have you ever heard about someone that's been given just weeks to live or whatever, and they go, what the hell, I'm out of here. And, maybe they leave a relationship, they leave everything behind, and they just say, I'm going to go and travel the world for my last, years. And off they go, and they have a ball, and next time they check in, they're cancer-free or disease-free. And what I've realized over time is what I think is happening is, on some level, without even doing it consciously, they've got to that core, the core issue of their disease. So maybe they've been in a job for 40 years that is just so stressful, and that's manifested into disease. And so they just up and leave everything, quit their job, and off they go. They've actually healed what's causing the disease. So, I feel that that's what's happening in their own way without doing these processes consciously. They're getting to the core, and then they're letting go, like finding forgiveness because they're not there anymore. And it's just like, thank God that's over. And, life's now about finding my passion and having fun. And in that way, they're healing themselves. So, it's really imperative we find out what these beliefs are and find out what the cause is, So with your process, or like changing the beliefs, so you're writing them all down, you've got them, and then the way to change the programming in the mind, according to neuroscience, is through hypnotherapy. So basically we're hypnotizing ourselves by saying the same thing over and over and over again. So when you wake up in the morning, you say your affirmations. When you go to bed at night, you say your affirmations. And then all through the day, you put sticky notes around the house until you really get it embedded. And the way to make those affirmations is basically looking at your negative core belief system and counteracting that with an affirmation. So say if you have the belief that men are not safe, then you create a belief that I only attract beautiful, safe, respectful men into my life. If you're having problems with money, then money flows freely and frequently to me. If you're having problems with friends, finding, great friends, then it's like, you say it in the present moment. I now have beautiful, amazing friends that, treat me equally, or, whatever your belief is. Just really tune into that and see if you can create an affirmation that absolutely counteracts that. And then you just say them over and over and over to reprogram your mind. And remember, I said last week that neuroscience says, has proven, that it's just between 30 to 200 days is all that it takes to reprogram the mind. And then, at first that kind of sounds a bit daunting, like, oh God, I've got to do this for 200 days. But then once you've reprogrammed the mind, you don't attract those sorts of people and circumstances into your life. This is what creates absolute change of what your life's going to be like in the future. So if you're attracting the same vibrational experiences that are creating energy blockages and manifesting into disease, you want to start creating differently. And so the way to do that is letting go of this perception of the younger you that's turned into your belief system, your program, that you're running 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and attracting to you the vibrations that are in resonance with that. It's imperative we change that, and then we can have amazing health and vitality. We can have the best life ever. I always say that we didn't come here to struggle and be sick. We came here to absolutely thrive. And because we have never been taught the truth about who we are and how important it is to take a look at everything energetically, we don't know this, and we just think, oh well, that's my lot in life, and so be it. Hopefully next life I'll have a better life. But it doesn't have to be that way. We have to come back to what is our programming that's actually creating this life. So yeah, that's all there is to it. When you're reprogramming the mind, just a bit of quiet time and really allowing yourself to be honest with yourself to see what patterns are you doing over and over, and ask the people around you, what do you see me doing over and over? What do you hear me saying over and over? And you might not like what you hear, but don't take it personally, and be grateful for that person, that, they're allowing you this opportunity to heal. And so once we know what that belief system is, then we can do this work to reprogram our mind, hypnotize ourselves and reprogram our mind. Well, it's really that simple, but it takes dedication, and make it a daily. You must make it a daily practice, because we've got to. You can't just do it here, there, and everywhere. You're not going to be able to change that programming if you do it like that. You must say, right, for the next 200 days, every morning, every night, and in between, I'm going to say these affirmations over and over. And if you can remember that everything's energy, if you can say the affirmations but also get a feeling in your body at the same time. So say if you're wanting to have beautiful friendships in your life, then you're not going to say that I want to have a beautiful friendship, because you're putting out that vibration of wanting. So we affirm it as if it's here now. So I now have the most amazing, beautiful friendships. And you feel in your body what that feels like. It feels good. And, you know, money flows freely and frequently to me now. So you feel what that feels like to have this abundance flowing to you. And then via vibration, which is the way everything is working in the cosmos, even creating your dis-ease, you are going to start attracting those circumstances and people to you to affirm the new program. And once that starts happening, you know it's really embedded in your psyche, and that old program's, you know, right, you know, kicked to the back. But that doesn't mean that old program's not going to want to try and jump back in every now and then. That happens also. So again, it just comes back to, okay, we get back into the practice of affirming this new positive, empowering belief system. Yeah, it's really, really that simple, but it does take dedication. But I know you can do it. And I know that even if, you know, if you're listening to this, you're on a journey to, you know, do things differently and to find out, you know, discover new information. And yeah, I hope you have the willpower to give it a go. And there's no judgment. Don't judge yourself no matter what comes up. We can only do the best we can with the resources we have at the time. And depending on what our teachings have been in the past as a child, and how we've picked things up from, you know, the energetic vibrations of those, especially those older around us, that's how our programming has been created. But it's really a question of are you willing to let the perception of a younger you rule your life? Or is it time to recreate from a more aware, you know, with more consciousness, the truth of and around the truth of who you really are, which is just this perfect godling. So I'll leave you with that, as I said, and then next week I'm going to be looking at what causes then. So we've got this blocked emotion, how that manifests into the energy body, into the chakras, and what chakras correlate with each particular organ, and and you can see how it all works then, how that then manifests from the chakras into the physical body. So yeah, good luck everyone, wishing you all the best and have the most amazing week, and keep the vibe high. Remember, that's very imperative in these times that are scary and even very depressing, but just keep coming back to what can I do to keep my vibration high, remembering that, you know, if you've got a high vibration, somehow you're going to dodge certain circumstances that other people might have to experience because their lower vibration is attracting that to them. And we want to do our best to get through what's happening currently in the most empowered way possible. So find out what makes your passion, you know, what you're passionate about, do that. Be with people you love, and just have a bit of fun and keep the vibration high. So, all right. See you, everyone. See you next week.